Leading Democrats will deliver the article of impeachment against Donald Trump to the Senate on Monday. This paves the way for a trial for incitement of insurrection last week after the Capitol was stormed by his supporters. There's evidence that the new coronavirus variant that originated in the UK has a higher mortality rate than the original European strain. The new variant is more transmissible, but leading British scientists believe that it will still respond to the vaccine. The European Commission presses pharmaceutical giant Pfizer over delays that had led to vaccine shortages in Italy, Spain and Germany. The company blames scaling up of production for the short haul. Google has threatened to shut down its search engine in Australia if the government passes a law forcing digital giants to pay media outlets for news content.
U.S. President Joe Biden signed 10 executive orders Thursday aimed at fighting COVID-19. He called for a full-scale wartime effort. Families of 62 people killed when an Indonesian passenger jet crashed into the Java Sea this month attend a memorial. Rights groups say at least 1,000 people have been detained in Tunisia after several nights of unrest. And Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga promises a safe and secure Olympics after media reports say the government wants the games canceled because of the pandemic.
Phillips in Washington with our latest headlines. Pretty in pink there, Kira.
Hey, and same to you. Happy Friday. We're all coordinated. Good vibes today. We start off here today with the new president's new moves when it comes to the virus and the economy. At the White House today, President Joe Biden shifting focus to the economic crisis, signing new executive orders to provide more aid and food on the table for families who have been deeply struggling. The Biden team also looking at ways to speed delivery of direct stimulus checks and other ways to help stabilize the stalled pandemic economy. All this action after the new president unveiled a new national strategy invoking the Defense Production Act to come up with new vaccine reserves, syringes, and PPE, calling his predecessor's work on getting vaccines out, quote, a dismal failure. And delays are possible into February now when it comes to deciding the impeachment fate of the former president. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell expected to propose the delay in a timing framework to be released to Leader Chuck Schumer. GOP senators say the delay is to allow the ex-president time to prepare a defense. And progress on the way with the Biden cabinet. Lloyd Austin could be headed for confirmation as the first black defense secretary today after Congress approved the waiver needed to do so. The House and Senate approving the four-star Army general with bipartisan support despite a rule requiring former uniformed military personnel to be 7 years out of active service before consideration. And TJ's favorite subject, why not? We're talking about the lottery again. If you're still not a multimillionaire, you do have another shot at winning close to $1 billion tonight. The Mega Millions jackpot exploding to about $970 million, the third largest prize in U.S. history. And as we mentioned yesterday, someone is walking around a lot richer in northwestern Maryland after winning the Powerball, and we may find out who that is soon. But I've been reading in on all the advice that financial planners across the country are giving you guys, and the number one tip, don't loan money to your friends and family.
Wow. Don't loan. You give it, right? You don't loan it because then you expect it back.
Oh, I see. You
right?
gift it.
You gift
okay.
it. But they tell you need to sign that ticket, you need to put it away, and you need to call a lawyer. Those are the things you need to do first, folks, if you win the lottery.
Then the financial planner.
You win.
Yeah, go with that. All right, Kira, thank you so much. You have a good weekend.
We start with the latest on the coronavirus in Japan. 2 weeks after a state of emergency was declared, daily new cases in Tokyo remain over 1,000. But experts say the reproduction rate has dropped in the same period. They're calling on the public to renew efforts to prevent infection so that the declaration can be lifted early. Officials reported 1,175 new cases in Tokyo on Friday. The daily tally has exceeded 1,000 for the 10th straight day. Daily tallies for 3 prefectures surrounding Tokyo also remain high. But reproductive rates dropped in all 4 prefectures compared with 2 weeks ago. In Tokyo and Kanagawa, the number is now below 1. The R value is a figure referring to the average number of people that one infected person will go on to infect.
緊急事態宣言が出されてから2週間目でですね、 The reproduction number dropped to below 1, 2 weeks after the state of emergency was declared. That means the measure is working to some extent, but we should keep trying to get the number further down.
The government is asking companies to promote teleworking and reduce commuting by 70%. But mobile phone data show there hasn't been a significant drop in the number of people in business districts during the daytime.
We haven't been able to reduce social contacts enough. We call for more effort in allowing people to work from home.
Medical systems in hotspots remain strained. In Osaka, nearly 80% of hospital beds for serious COVID-19 cases are occupied.
If you get any more patients, we might not be able to fully function as an emergency hospital. That means not being able to save lives that could be saved.
The government's coronavirus task force analyzed the situation.
The number of new infections across Japan has been slightly decreasing, but it remains an extremely high level. We need to stay vigilant and continue to carry out preventive measures, such as shorter business hours for eating and drinking establishments, as well as avoiding non-essential outings.
The Prime Minister stressed his resolve to get the virus under control through vaccination. The government plans to start rolling out a vaccine late next month. It launched a special website to provide information, including possible side effects. Across Japan, more than 5,000 new cases were reported on Friday. A record 108 deaths were confirmed. Japan's government has submitted a draft revision of 3 laws related to COVID-19 to the Diet. It includes penalties for businesses and individuals not following the antivirus measures. Officials hope to have the bills enacted early next month. Under the revised law, governors could order businesses to change their operating hours if they refuse the request. Businesses that fail to comply with an order could face a maximum fine of about $5,000 under a state of emergency. Governors could also request infected people to stay at designated accommodations. If people refuse, they can be jailed for up to a year or be given a maximum fine of about $10,000. Also under the revised quarantine law, officials would ask people arriving in Japan to self-quarantine for 14 days in principle. Those who refuse may be requested to stay in a facility, and if they refuse to, they could face imprisonment of up to 1 year or a maximum fine of about $10,000. People and businesses have mixed feelings about the revision, especially about penalties.
To some extent, I think it is necessary to do forcibly.
I don't know what will happen if it is too strict in terms of human rights. I hope it will be reconsidered a little.
I think it's a good idea. It would be more troublesome if we have to close our restaurant, like in April.
Honestly, I'm doubtful it's really effective to only have restaurants and bars close at 8 o'clock at night.
The Japanese government has denied a major British newspaper's report about a possible cancellation of the Tokyo Olympics this summer. The Times reported on Thursday that the Japanese government has privately concluded the event will have to be canceled due to the pandemic. But the government on Friday issued a statement saying the report is categorically untrue. It says that competition schedules and venues for the games have been decided and that all the parties involved are working hard to make the event a success. It adds thorough anti-infection measures will be implemented. The International Olympic Committee referred to the statement made by the Japanese government. The committee says the IOC is fully concentrated on and committed to the successful delivery of the Tokyo Games this year with its Japanese partners. Meanwhile, NHK has learned the organizing committee for the Games is deliberating an alternative plan for the torch relay. It's scheduled to start at the end of March to go around the country. The plan may call for scrapping the relay on public roads if a state of emergency declaration is in place in a prefecture where the relay is scheduled. An alternate event featuring the Olympic flame could possibly be held instead. Now to a renewed fight against the coronavirus in the United States. President Joe Biden rolled out a dramatic policy shift on his first full day on the job. He plans to strengthen anti-infection rules and ramp up vaccine rollout, which he calls a dismal failure so far. The plan includes getting more vaccination centers up and running.
Our plan starts with mounting an aggressive, safe, and effective vaccination campaign to meet our goal of administering 100 million shots in our first 100 days in office. We're on day one. This will be one of the greatest operational challenges our nation has ever undertaken. And I'm committed to getting it done. We're committed to getting it done.
The U.S. outbreak remains the worst in the world. 400,000 people have died. That's more than all the Americans who perished in World War II.
We couldn't rely on the federal government to act with the urgency and focus and coordination we needed. And we have seen the tragic cost of that failure.
Biden signed a new series of executive orders. One allows agencies to direct private companies to produce needed supplies. Another will force many travelers to mask up, representing a shift from his predecessor Donald Trump, known for downplaying virus risks. Biden's chief medical advisor on the coronavirus says the country will join an international effort for fair distribution of the vaccines.
I am also pleased to announce today that the United States plans to work multilaterally to respond to and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Dr. Anthony Fauci represented the U.S. in an online meeting with directors of the World Health Organization. He said the country intends to join the COVAX facility, an international framework aimed at ensuring fair distribution of the vaccines, adding to the other efforts to develop treatments for COVID-19. Biden notified the United Nations in a letter on Wednesday that the administration had reversed President Trump's decision to withdraw from the WHO. The organization's chief welcomed the move. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the role of the U.S. is crucial for global health. European Union leaders have agreed to keep borders open despite the spread of new variants of the coronavirus. But they also confirmed that they would strongly discourage non-essential travel within the bloc. The leaders held a video summit on Thursday. They agreed that member countries should not close their borders to ensure the functioning of the single market, including the flow of goods and travel by people such as medical workers. They also confirmed that non-essential travel should be limited to prevent the spread of infections that could lead to border closures. During the COVID-19 outbreak last year, some EU nations closed their borders without coordinating policies with other members. That resulted in disruptions to deliveries of essential goods. The leaders also considered a proposal on an EU-wide vaccination certificate to guarantee cross-border travel. The topic was left for further discussion, as some raised concerns that inoculations are still being carried out across the EU, and it's still unclear how long vaccines will remain effective. Twitter says it's locked the account of the Chinese embassy in the United States because a tweet about Uyghur women violated the company's policy against dehumanization. U.S. media say the tweet posted earlier this month stated that women in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region have been emancipated and are no longer baby-making machines. A Twitter spokesperson explained that the company prohibits the dehumanization of a group of people based on their religion or ethnicity.